Video contains violent content, details that are not suitable for common perception. Please consider before watching. Chapter 144, Poison Master 1. If anyone has even the slightest interest in medicinal herbs or poisonous plants, they can easily guess it. I don't understand why you're reacting like this. Anyone can do it? Was he trying to mock them now? Or was he just unable to show humility? Madame Zhang, who had been staring at Mok Jung-un with a somewhat dumbfounded expression, finally clicked her tongue and said, I didn't know the disciple of the Shadow Clan master had such profound knowledge of poisons. I'm also surprised. Baek So-gang, the second son of the annihilating poison king Baek Saha, also agreed with his mother's words. Most martial artists, unless they were exceptionally cautious, considered poison arts to be cowardly or unworthy of martial artists and didn't even show interest in them. However, Mok Jung-un's extensive knowledge was at a level that would be difficult to know without properly studying poisons or medicinal herbs. What's even more surprising is that unbelievable level of identification. The annihilating poison king always told his sons. He said that the most important thing for those who practice poison arts to never neglect training was the cultivation of their sense of taste and smell to identify poisons. Smell aside, training the sense of taste was not easy. Poisons are very dangerous to handle and can directly lead to death if mishandled, so rather than tasting a large amount, one tastes an extremely small amount. After doing so, one gradually builds up resistance through training. Since it takes a long time to fully grasp the taste of a single poison, it is inevitable that the training of the sense of taste would be slow. Is it innate? From Baek So-gang's perspective, that was the only way he could view it. The fact that Mok Jung-un, who was only 17 years old and didn't primarily practice poison arts, had such a sharp tongue could only be explained as a natural talent. Oh my! Baek So-gang suddenly felt regret. Come to think of it, he would have become a disciple of the Shadow Clan master through the Corpse Blood Valley entrance. If his father had participated in the disciple selection ceremony this time, he could have brought this child with such remarkable talent. Even if his father had seen him, he would have coveted him enough. If we had brought him the main families. Baek So-gang's eyes widened. Upon reflection, he had been wondering why this person sought his father's guidance with 3 first-place tokens, but now he understood. I now understand why young Master Mok wanted to seek guidance from my father. I see. Madame Zhang also nodded at the words of her second son, Baek So-gang. If someone had such profound knowledge and interest in poisons, they would naturally want to receive the annihilating Poison King's teachings. Now his visit made sense. I thought it was a waste of time, but I guess not. Even if he can't become a formal disciple, if he receives my husband's teachings, the Shadow Clan and our Baek family might form a good connection. However, the problem was whether her husband would be willing to teach this child. Although it was established by the sect's rules, her husband was someone who had his own stubbornness. He never went back on something he had already decided. It was at that moment. Whoosh. Wai So-yun, the third disciple of the society leader, had completely dissolved the poison, exhaling white vapor instead of purple. Seeing this, Baek So-gang, the second son of the Baek family, couldn't hide his astonishment. To dissolve the poison in less than half an hour. Her internal energy is truly deep. It was just as the rumors said. Soon Jang Nung-ak, the second disciple of the society leader, also succeeded in completely dissolving the poison. Although he was a hair's breadth slower than Wai So-yun, he was also fast. Seeing them, Madame Zhang clasped her hands together and said, The internal energy of you two is extraordinary. I didn't expect you to dissolve the poison in such a short time. At her praise, Wai So-yun waved her hand and expressed humility. The poison of the Baek family is truly remarkable. If my concentration had wavered even slightly, it would have been difficult. How could that be? You must have overcome it sufficiently. On the other hand, Jang Nung-ak silently glared at Wai So-yun. His reputation had become unspeakable. He had wanted to show himself dissolving the poison first, but he was beaten by a hair's breadth due to Wai So-yun's monstrous internal energy. Creak. He couldn't help but feel his pride hurt. It was because he had been surpassed in front of his subordinates. Jang Nung-ak, who had been glaring at her with a displeased gaze, finally shifted his gaze and looked at Mok Jung-un. Did this kid have such skills? He had heard the vague conversation. It seemed that he had dissolved the poison in a different way from himself and Wai Soyun. According to Madame Zhang's words, he seemed to know a lot about poisons. Then he's even more desirable. He had already lost Wai Mengqion, his left-hand man and the second-ranked member of the Five Mountains Alliance. If this kid was versatile in many aspects, he seemed capable of filling the void left by Wai Mengqion. Wai Soyun also felt the same way. Did he also have expertise in poisons? She had wanted to find out Mok Jiongun's true internal energy level this time, but it seemed he had detoxified the poison in a different way. So she felt like she had seen an unexpected side of him. Perhaps Mok Jiongun's true value lay in these diverse talents. I might have to make him my person no matter what. She had been slightly hesitant because of his background as a hostage of the righteous faction, but if she was going to lose him to her second martial brother, it seemed worthwhile to bring him over somehow. It was at that moment. Then may we go in? Madam. Zhang Nung, the second disciple of the society leader, took the lead and asked Madame Zhang. Although it was a hair's breadth, he was slower than Wai Soyun in detoxification, but what mattered now was not that. It was about who would have a private meeting with the annihilating Poison King first. At his question, Madame Zhang looked at her second son, Baek Sogang. Then, for now, the family head said that if you have dissolved the poison, you can come inside together. Together? Yes. I apologize, but that was the family head's intention. At his words, Wai Soyun inwardly breathed a sigh of relief. If she lost the lead in a situation where she needed to request support, it could become somewhat disadvantageous. Of course, going in together wasn't a particularly good thing either, but at least it was better than letting him have a private meeting first. TSK. Zhang Nung clicked his tongue. He had tried to have a private meeting first, but if it turned out like this, it would be quite annoying. Wai Soyun was sure to try to interfere with him. However, he had no choice but to respect the annihilating Poison King's intention if he wanted to meet him. Understood. Thank you for your understanding. With that, Baek Sogang took the lead. Standing at the entrance of the detached building, he gave a warning in advance. As I mentioned earlier, the inside is filled with poison qi. Please adjust your breathing with a circulation technique to block the poison qi from entering your body. Got it? Yes. Young Master Mok. You don't need to worry about me. All right. But unlike drinking a single cup, the poison qi completely fills the inside of the detached building, so if you find it difficult to endure, you must come out. Yes. Zhang Nung raised the corner of his mouth and spoke to the responding Mok Jiongun. If you're struggling, let me know. I'll move you outside. He was being hospitable towards Mok Jiongun. At this, Wai Soyun was about to say that she would also help him, but she closed her mouth. She didn't want to argue with her second senior apprentice brother over such a thing. Then please follow me, you three. Creak. As the door opened, the three of them followed Baek Sogang, the second son of the Baek family, inside. Entering the separate residence, there was another entrance inside, and faint poisonous energy lingered around it like fog. Charcoal-filled straw bags were hanging all over the walls. The straw bags contain charcoal and various medicinal ingredients that have detoxifying effects. If we don't do this, the poisonous energy will leak out. Baek Sogang kindly explained this. Then, pointing to the door that looked like a wall, he said, if you follow the corridor, you'll find the family head in the central inner room. The poisonous energy grows thicker as you go, so please maintain your qi circulation. Creak. Baek Sogang opened the door. Then the front was obscured by a hazy purple fog, blocking the view. Seeing this, Zhang Nung and Wai Soyun's eyes flickered with interest. What in the world is he doing inside too? The poisonous energy is tremendous. Although they had been warned in advance and knew about it, they had never expected the poisonous energy to be this dense inside. Could they even have a proper conversation like this? Even if they protected their body's exterior and interior with qi circulation, if they breathed incorrectly while speaking, they would be too busy neutralizing the poisonous energy entering their lungs. Follow me. Baek Sogang took the lead and went inside. Then Zhang Nung and Wai Soyun followed with somewhat tense expressions. On the other hand, Mok Jiongun seemed indifferent. Hey, are you really okay? The poisonous energy seems too severe. Chongying was so worried that he had to ask. In response, Mok Jiongun shrugged his shoulders as if it was no big deal. Poison had no meaning to him. After all, the blood flowing through his veins was extremely poisonous in the first place. Thud thud. Following the long corridor, it didn't take long before the place called the central inner room came into view. However, it was blocked not by a wooden panel but by a stone that seemed to be made of a special material. Seeing this, Jang Nung-ak looked at Baek Sogang with curious eyes. Then Baek Sogang answered, "This place is a special training room built to withstand our family's poison techniques." Training room. Yes. Once you reach the 6th level or higher of our family's true divine art, the Wave Demon Poison Scripture, you can even melt the surroundings with poisonous energy, so to endure this, you need stones of the same material as the spirit restraining stone here. In other words, ordinary stones or wood-like materials would easily melt in the poison. Indeed, the Baek family's poison techniques went beyond the ordinary level. Remarkable. It made sense why the society leader, his master, had said that in a certain sense, the Poison King Baek Saha was more dangerous than the 2 kings who received the title of the 8 stars. The poison of the Poison King Baek Saha possessed the power to annihilate hundreds of martial artists in a short time. No, it could be even more than that. At that moment, Father No family head. I have brought young Master Jang Nung-ak, Lady Y So-yun, and a disciple of Shadow Clan. Baek Sogang tapped on the wall that looked like a door and spoke. Then Jang Nung-ak and Y So-yun stared intently at the door. They had to persuade him at this place and somehow gain his support no matter what. This was their common thought. While they were doing so, a voice was heard from inside. "All 3 have entered?" Although it was hoarse, the energy felt from the voice was tremendous. Indeed, he was worthy of being one of the 5 kings, known as the top experts of the Heaven and Earth Society. Then Jang Nung-ak adjusted his breathing with chi circulation and opened his mouth. "Venerable Poison King. I am Jang Nung-ak, the 2nd disciple of the society leader. To congratulate your grandson's 1st birthday and pay my respects." Kakik, it's not to pay respects but because you're more interested in the position of the successor, right? Pardon? You're here because you need this old man's support in the successor's rivalry, aren't you? Jang Nung was momentarily at a loss for words at the voice that abruptly hit the nail on the head. Although he had never had a conversation with him unlike the other demon kings, he hadn't expected him to have such a straightforward way of speaking. However, Jang Nung was not one to be greatly flustered by this. "Ho ho. As expected of you, elder. Why bother with flowery words? You're right. It's good that you're honest." At the voice coming from inside, Y So-yun also hurriedly opened her mouth. "Elder Baek Saha. It's me, Y So-yun. Do you remember me? How could I forget? I really wanted to see you, elder. Kakik, you must have come for the same reason, so of course you did. I won't deny it." She also answered honestly. Looking at the way Baek Saha spoke now, it seemed that if she tried to say flattering words she would only incur dislike. "Elder." As Y So-yun was about to say something, Jang Nung cut her off and spoke first. "Elder. I'll get straight to the point. Please help me. He's making a move like this, I see." Y So-yun bit her lower lip and was about to raise her voice to intervene. "Elder. Enough." A short rebuke erupted from inside the door. At the sound that rang in their ears, the 2 of them immediately closed their mouths. Soon Baek Saha's voice was heard again. "You want to be the successor, but your words come before your actions. What do you mean by that? You want to receive this old man's support? Wasn't that obvious?" That's why they had come here, using the birthday celebration as an excuse. The 2 of them nodded and replied, "I need your support, elder." "That's right. Kakik, if you want this old man's recognition that badly, show your actions before your words." "What do you mean by that?" "It's meaningless to tell this old man your story in detail. A martial artist proves themselves through strength. If you want to be the society leader, come inside and make this old man get up from his seat." At these words from Baek Saha, Jang Nung-ak and Y So-yun's expressions hardened. Since they had already fulfilled the conditions for entering, they thought that from now on, it would be a matter of persuading him through conversation. However, they hadn't expected another test to be waiting for them. They knew that Baek Saha had an eccentric and stubborn personality, but this was unexpected. Is he testing our martial arts? However, it seemed that he was looking down on them too much. Although it was said that the Poison King Baek Saha's poison techniques were in a different league compared to others, They were disciples of the society leader who could be considered the supreme of the heaven and earth society. They were confident that their martial arts could not be ignored even by the executives. Just making him stand up. It wasn't that difficult either. At this, Jang Nung-ak stepped forward and said, "Then I will try first. Elder. It doesn't matter who goes first. As long as you can come inside and make this old man stand up, I'll support that person as much as you want." At his words implying that he didn't care, Jang Nung-ak raised the corner of his mouth wryly. First of all, this place was filled with poisonous energy, so the longer one stayed, the greater the consumption of internal energy. Therefore, if one were to step up, it was advantageous to go first. That's what he'll think? Why, So-yeon inwardly sneered. Her thoughts were different. In any case, she was confident in her internal energy, so she was also confident that she could last longer than Jang Nung-ak inside. And if she stepped up as the latter, she could grasp how the Poison King responded, so she considered that to be more advantageous. "Then I will enter. Elder. Kakik. Go ahead and try." Jang Nung-ak placed his palm on the door made of stone walls and pushed. The door was thicker than he thought, requiring him to use strength. Rumble. As the door opened, the inside gradually came into view. It was at that very moment. Wah! As the door opened halfway. Thud. Ugh. Jang Nung-ak, who was pushing the door, knelt on one knee on the floor and clutched his chest. What is this? His insides churned and he tasted blood in his mouth. Even though the poisonous energy filling the inside of the separate residence was already tremendously strong, the poisonous energy that was incomparably more severe made it difficult to breathe. Cough. Black blood flowed from Jang Nung-ak's mouth. However, he wasn't the only one exposed to this poisonous energy. Bam. Why So-yeon also sat cross-legged and entered chi circulation due to the severe poisonous energy suddenly pushed out. This was incomparable to the poisonous energy that filled the corridor of the separate residence. The poisonous energy was so strong that her hands and feet were trembling. In the end. Baek So-gang, the second son of Baek So-ha, who had been watching this, clicked his tongue inwardly. His father had no intention of supporting any of them from the beginning. That's why he had presented a task that they could never overcome. Wave Demon Poison Scripture, 7th level. The poisonous energy currently spewing out from the inside was the wave poison fog that could only be emitted by reaching the 7th level of the Wave Demon Poison Scripture. This wasn't the kind of poisonous energy that even a top expert at the peak could withstand. The only thing that could guard against this was learning the same Wave Demon Poison Scripture like himself and adapting to the poisonous energy. However, it's interesting. Releasing poison in the form of fog from the body. Is this what poison arts are? At the voice he heard, Baek So-gang's eyes widened. There was one person he had forgotten about while observing these two. It was none other than Mok Jae-eun, the disciple of the Shadow Clan master. How can this be? For a moment, Baek So-gang doubted his own eyes. No matter how proficient he was in poisons, he thought Mok Jae-eun wouldn't be able to endure it this time. But Mok Jae-eun was standing there looking perfectly fine. Young Master Mok? How? At that moment, Baek So-ha's voice came from inside the room filled with thick purple fog. What the hell are you? What do you mean by that? How can you endure this poison chi? Sizzle. Soon, the fog obscuring the front dispersed, revealing the purple face of an old man sitting cross-legged on the floor, extending sharp fingernails. He was none other than the annihilating Poison King, Baek So-ha. Baek So-ha had a gaze of utter incomprehension. He had never expected to see someone standing so unaffected in the poison chi that even the society leader's two disciples couldn't endure. Moreover, that child. Isn't he not even circulating his energy right now? If he had been circulating his energy, he would have sensed it from the beginning. Yet, to endure like that in this place filled with poison chi without protecting his body with energy circulation? If that was the case, it meant he had resistance to poison, but... Don't tell me you've cultivated poison arts. At his question, Mok Jae-eun shook his head and replied, No, it's not like that. You say it's not? Then how can you endure this deadly poison chi? At Baek So-ha's question, Mok Jae-eun tilted his head with an incomprehensible expression. Then, deadly? This. Chapter 145, Poison Master 2. Deadly? This. A tone as if he couldn't understand. At Mok Jae-eun's words, the annihilating Poison King Baek So-ha frowned. It could sound very arrogant, But looking at Mok Jaeongun's current state, it really seemed like he was not affected by the poison chi at all. My goodness! It was a truly astonishing sight. The fog of wave poison that could only be unleashed upon reaching the 7th layer of the wave demon poison scripture was so deadly that even masters who had reached the supreme stage could be instantly poisoned if they didn't maintain an appropriate distance. Wasn't there a prime example right here? Huff. Huff. Ha. Even the society leader's 2 disciples, Jang Nung-ak and Y So-yun, were preoccupied with dissolving the wave poison fog after being exposed to it due to a moment of carelessness. They probably couldn't hear anything right now. The poison chi was so strong that Mok Jaeongun's unaffected reaction seemed truly bizarre. You said you were the disciple of the Shadow Clan master? At the annihilating poison king Baek Saha's question, his second son Baek So-gang, who had been staring with an unbelievable expression, hastily replied, "Why yes. That's right. He's a very interesting fellow. He's not wearing a poison-repelling robe and his internal energy isn't thick, but I'm curious how he's unharmed by my wave poison." At his words, Mok Jaeongun politely bowed his head and said, "It's a matter of constitution, so please don't pay much attention to it." Constitution? Yes. Ha. The annihilating poison king Baek Saha clicked his tongue as if he was dumbfounded. Occasionally, there are individuals who have a strong natural resistance to poison. However, that occasional resistance is also about enduring or self-detoxifying ordinary levels of poison, not the poison of the wave demon poison scripture. This extreme poison, which can only be acquired through training with hundreds of different poisons, is completely different from ordinary poisons. Enduring such a tremendous poison solely with one's constitution was impossible. Are you trying to mock me? How could I possibly do that? I merely spoke the truth. The truth. Tiske fine. Then I'll personally uncover your secret. My secret? Yes. Come closer. Grab. The annihilating poison king Baek Saha extended his hand forward and made a grabbing motion. Then the surrounding true energy fluctuated, and Mok Jaeongun's body was about to be pulled by it. Huh. Is this really the technique of capturing objects from a distance? Mok Jaeongun instinctively realized that Baek Saha was using his true energy to pull him. Indeed, Baek Saha's true energy was on a different level. The Shadow Clan master was also strong, but Baek Saha's was far more extensive. Screech. Mok Jaeongun's feet were dragged across the wooden floor. However, he had only moved about 2 steps. Seeing that he wasn't being pulled as easily as expected, a glint of surprise flashed in the annihilating poison king Baek Saha's eyes. Look at this kid. Based on his spiritual perception, Mok Jaeongun's martial prowess seemed to be at most at the early stage of the peak realm. Yet he was resisting his true energy. This level of resistance was only possible upon reaching the pinnacle stage of the transcendent realm. He seems to have mastered the skill of concealing his internal energy even from those with higher cultivation than himself. But my internal energy is... Grab. Baek Saha stretched out his hand once more and pulled. Then a true energy nearly twice as strong as before enveloped Mok Jaeongun's body. This is... Mok Jaeongun let out a soft sigh and then entrusted his body to that true energy. To resist this, he would have to unleash the death energy in his middle danjian as well. But there was no need to reveal that power. Thud. Soon Mok Jaeongun's body floated and flew to Baek Saha's front. In that state, Baek Saha gently drew a trajectory with his palm, and Mok Jaeongun's body spun around and was forcibly seated on the floor. He manipulates true energy as if breathing. Indeed, the title of 5 kings was not undeserved. If a master of approaching the unrestrained realm was like this, he couldn't even imagine how strong those who had truly surpassed the wall would be. At that moment, Baek Saha spoke. Come to think of it, you said you wanted to receive my guidance, right? Yes. Then tell me how you endured my poison. Depending on your answer, I will decide whether to give you guidance or not. That's strange. What's strange? Based on the sex rules, you shouldn't be able to refuse, but you're talking as if you can reject me depending on your decision. Ah, of course, the sex rules must be followed. But I could just teach you how to peel the bark of a sorghum tree and send you away. That's also a form of guidance. Peeling the bark of a sorghum tree is not martial arts. It's an example that I can teach you something useless. At Baek Saha's words, Mok Jaeongun chuckled inwardly. As the Shadow Clan master had said, He indeed seemed to be eccentric and had his own stubbornness. So Mok Jae-eun said, "Since you put it that way, I should definitely tell you." "Ha. You've made up your mind well. So, how did you endure my wave poison?" "It's my constitution." One of the annihilating poison King Baek Saha's eyebrows arched up. His face was already purple, making him look fierce and grotesque, but his expression seemed to transform into that of a demon. "I was going to talk nicely for the sake of your master's face, but it seems you don't want that. I have spoken honestly to you." "Honest? Fine. Then if it's your constitution, let's see if you can endure this as well." Whoosh. The moment he questioned the annihilating poison King Baek Saha's hand turned purple. It was more condensed than the fog form and far surpassed the poison chi from earlier. The annihilating poison King Baek Saha smiled menacingly and said, "Try enduring my wave demon palm technique as well." Blast. Baek Saha's palm soon struck Mok Jae-eun's chest. At that moment the back of his clothes tore and poison chi spurted out through his back. It was a phenomenon caused by the principle of acupoint striking. The annihilating poison King Baek Saha curled the corner of his mouth. As the poison chi penetrates, his internal organs will be struck by the poison chi. He talked about constitution or whatever, but now that I've directly injected it inside, let's see if you can dissolve it. He was curious to see how Mok Jae-eun would dissolve the poison. Since it was certain that he hadn't cultivated poison arts, he would have no choice but to reveal his secret. Or so he thought, but how long do I need to endure it? Don't tell me you're all right. Yes. If it was a test to see whether the poison would work or not, it's a pointless act due to my constitution. What the hell are you? The annihilating poison King Baek Saha was dumbfounded. The poison chi contained in the palm technique just now possessed the power to prevent even skilled masters from breathing properly and kill them in no time if they were hit properly. Yet this kid was blabbering away. Grab. Baek Saha grabbed Mok Jae-eun's collar and pulled him. "How did you do it? Without even circulating your energy, how did you endure my poison?" "It's the same question. And I have the same answer." "Nonsense. It's true. Are you mocking me? The poison just now could melt even stone. Do you think you can endure it simply with your constitution?" It seems you don't believe me. Would you believe it if you were me? Are you really curious? Do you truly wish to die?" Whoosh. Suddenly, strong poison chi and killing intent burst out from Baek Saha's entire body as his anger surged. The force was so strong that even his second son, Baek So-gang, took a step back in tension. What is he trying to do by provoking father? He couldn't understand Mok Jae-eun's intentions at all. Rather than asking for a detailed explanation of the secret, it would have been sufficient to just tell him how he endured the poison chi, but he kept provoking the annihilating poison King Baek Saha. At that moment Mok Jae-eun spoke. "Actually, there's a simple reason why I could endure your poison." "Speak. If you've mocked me again this time, regardless of being the Shadow Clan Master's disciple, you'll have to be prepared for the consequences." "I understand. Since you're so displeased, there's no reason for me not to tell you." No need to beat around the bush and say you don't want to die. Let's say that's the case." Baek Saha clicked his tongue. Even though he was showing such an angry appearance, this kid was speaking his mind without even blinking an eye. He couldn't tell if he had lost his fear or if he was just bold. However, one thing was certain. Judging from his unwavering eyes, it didn't seem to be the former. "Speak. Since I must speak only to you, I will take the liberty of being rude for a moment." "What?" Questioning him, Mok Jae-eun lowered his head close to his ear and whispered, "You asked how I endured it, right?" "Yes." "Have you ever been poisoned by eating false hellebore?" "False hellebore poison? Why would I, at most, get poisoned by a weak poison that only causes a rash on the body?" "That's it." "What?" "The reason why your poison has no effect on me." Instantly, Baek Saha's expression twisted fiercely. Although he spoke in a roundabout way, Mok Jae-eun's words had scratched his pride. To be blunt, Mok Jae-eun had said this. "Your poison didn't work because it was weak." Grind. Baek Saha gnashed his molars strongly. His poison, known as one of the top 3 in the entire Central Plains, was weak? Did this kid really have a death wish? He was digging his own grave. Seems my poison felt that way to you. Then I should show you what a truly proper poison is. Oh. At the annihilating poison King Baek-Saha's words, his second son Baek-Sogang's eyes widened. That's because he realized what kind of poison his father was trying to show now. Naturally, there were secret techniques in places where poison was cultivated. For example, there was the invisible poison of the Four Seasons Tang clan, the clam and snake poison of the Gyeong clan, and the wave demon poison created by the patriarch and grandfather of the Baek family, the myriad poisons Master Baekyu. Father. The startled Baek-Sogang called out to him. Even at his call, Baek-Saha didn't even spare him a glance. He seemed to be really angry. Yo. Baek-Sogang thought this shouldn't be allowed. The wave demon poison was literally the secret of the Baek family, and this poison was called 10 steps to death, because one would die before even taking 10 steps, making it the worst extreme poison. Fath. The moment Baek-Sogang tried to approach his father to dissuade him, the annihilating poison King Baek-Saha lightly stretched out his hand. Then, rumble. The stone door that was half open at the entrance closed. Baek-Sogang's face turned serious at the blocked entrance. It seemed he had done that to avoid interference. This is a big problem. At this rate, his father might really use the wave demon poison and kill Mok Jae-eun. The problem was that this stone door was designed to be locked and unlocked from inside the training room, so if it was firmly locked from the inside, it would be difficult to break through and enter. Bang bang. Father. Father. Ignoring the faintly audible knocking and calling from outside, Baek-Saha said, "Since you said it's so weak, I will show you a proper. It doesn't seem to be completely soundproof." What? But I think this much is enough for the two of us to have a quiet conversation. At Mok Jae-eun's words, Baek-Saha frowned. Did this kid deliberately provoke him to make him close the door? Baek-Saha spoke in a dumbfounded voice. What the hell are you up to? It's not a scheme, but it seemed like it wouldn't be good for my constitution to be widely known. Constitution? Is he still going on about that? As he was thinking that, suddenly sharp aura flowed out from Mok Jae-eun's index and middle fingers, forming a sword finger. What are you? Slice. At that moment, Mok Jae-eun lightly cut his palm. Then blood began to drip from the wound on his palm onto the floor. Drip drip. As the blood droplets fell on the floor, Baek-Saha frowned and asked, "What are you doing now?" "I thought I should also show you the poison I possess." "Poison? Don't tell me you." Baek-Saha looked at the blood flowing from Mok Jae-eun's palm with surprised eyes. What this kid was saying now was, "Are you saying there's poison in your blood?" "Yes." "Would you like to taste it?" Mok Jae-eun, smiling while extending his blood-stained hand. At this action, Baek-Saha's expression became one of disbelief. There is an ultimate realm that those who deeply study poison and cultivate poison arts aim for. It is to become a poison master where one's flesh, blood and everything else is composed of poison. This realm of becoming poison itself was the highest realm they pursued. Are you trying to say that you, a young kid, have reached the realm of a poison master? Chapter 146, Poison Master 3. Drip. Drip. The thick blood droplets falling from Mok Jae-eun's palm. The annihilating poison King Baek-Saha, who had been staring at it with unbelieving eyes, finally opened his mouth. "Young lad, do you know what you just said?" "Well, you saying that your blood is poison means that you have reached a realm that even I haven't ascended to. Does that make sense to you?" He was only 17 years old. An age too young to even be called a youth. Was he saying that he had reached a realm that even he who had cultivated poison arts all his life had not attained? It was something he absolutely could not accept. To that, Mok Jae-eun smiled and said, "For someone who claims to be the top expert in poison arts, is it that difficult for you to simply taste my blood? Seeing how you're denying it so elaborately." "What? You right now to whom?" "Then taste it. It's not that difficult." At Mok Jae-eun's words, the annihilating poison King Baek-Saha's eyes narrowed. If the kid's blood was truly poison itself, it would be a genuine shock to him. After hesitating for a moment, Baek-Saha finally extended his hand. And he grabbed Mok Jae-eun's wrist, pulled it, and let the blood flowing from his palm drip into his mouth. Drip drip drip. Mok Jae-eun's blood wetting his tongue. The moment it touched his tongue, the annihilating poison King Baek-Saha's eyes widened. He had lived his entire life with poison. The moment he tasted the blood, he could instinctively realize it. It was undoubtedly poison. the burning sensation as it touched his tongue and the complex taste spreading out. This flavor, which was one yet could be felt as numerous changes, was a kind of poison he had never experienced before. What on earth? Bek Saha's ability to identify poisons was at the highest level, to say the least. Yet he couldn't identify what kind of poison it was. That meant it was proof that the blood itself had become poison, not formed through poisoning. Ha! A gasp escaped from Bek Saha's mouth. Even he who had preserved poison within his body through the wave demon poison scripture, couldn't have his blood itself become poison. However, Mok Jaeongun's blood was truly poison itself. If that was the case. Poison Master. Mok Jaeongun had truly reached the realm of a poison master. Bek Saha stared at Mok Jaeongun's face with shocked eyes. What the hell was this kid? How did such a young lad reach the realm of a poison master that even he who had cultivated poison arts for decades had not achieved? It went beyond the realm of understanding, so he was filled with questions. After being at a loss for words for a while, Bek Saha finally managed to part his lips. How did you ascend to the realm of a poison master? What even is a poison master? You're asking what a poison master is? Yes. At Mok Jaeongun's question, Bek Saha's head ached. This kid didn't even know what realm he had reached. It was utterly absurd. Are you trying to mock me? It's not mockery. I'm asking because I truly don't know. Ha! Is it because my blood is poison? At Mok Jaeongun's question, Bek Saha clicked his tongue and answered. Yes. The person themselves becoming poison. That is the realm of a poison master. Is that so? Bek Saha felt inwardly dumbfounded yet envious at Mok Jaeongun's attitude of answering as if it was nothing. He had struggled to the point of death but failed to achieve what this young lad had accomplished so easily. It's utterly disheartening. A young lad who hadn't even cultivated poison arts, no, who couldn't even properly utilize poison, had ascended to the realm of a poison master. It was enough to make his efforts feel meaningless. It was like discovering a pig with a pearl necklace around its neck. Fine. Let me change the question. How did you get poison to permeate your blood? You should know the answer to this yourself. Well, I suppose. Then tell me. Are you referring to the method? Yes. At his answer, Mok Jaeongun scratched his head and let out a groan of contemplation. Do you not want to tell me? It seems like you really want it. Want it? It's more than that. This is a long-cherished wish for me. Is that so? Yes. So tell me what you know. If you do that, I will properly teach you poison arts so that you can utilize that poison chi of yours. Not a bad condition. Not a bad condition? If you learn poison arts from me, you will undoubtedly be called the best among the younger generation. Is it to that extent? Indeed. Mok Jaeongun had already reached the realm of a poison master. If taught, he had sufficient talent to even ascend to the 8th layer of the wave demon poison scripture. However, completely unexpected words flowed out of Mok Jaeongun's mouth. Can I change the condition a bit? What? It's not that difficult. At Mok Jaeongun's words, Bek Saha clicked his tongue again. Sensing that he was in a disadvantageous position, the kid was now trying to make a deal with him. He was truly a brazen fellow. What do you want? It's not very difficult. I just want you to tell me what I want to know. It was at that very moment. Ugh. Bek Saha suddenly clutched his chest. Then his eyes became bloodshot, and he looked at Mok Jaeongun with a perplexed expression. The reason for Bek Saha's bewilderment was simple. It was because he felt a burning pain starting from his chest. Bek Saha could instantly identify the cause of this pain. Impossible. This was a phenomenon that occurred when being poisoned. Bek Saha was dumbfounded. As someone who had reached a high realm through poison arts, he possessed the ability to neutralize other poisons invading his body with the hundreds of poisons he carried within him. However, cough. Dark red blood flowed from his mouth. Bek Saha's eyes trembled violently. How can this be? It was absurd enough to be preposterous. Did it make sense for a poison to exist that he, known as the Annihilating Poison King, couldn't neutralize? Deadly? Suddenly, Mok Jaeongun's words from earlier came to mind. He had spoken as if Bek Saha's wave poison was nothing, causing him displeasure. However, with the rapidly spreading poison chi, Bek Saha realized. This kid. Was he serious? It wasn't bravado to provoke him. Bek Saha hurriedly circulated the wave demon poison scripture, trying to neutralize Mok Jaeongun's poison that was penetrating and spreading further into his internal organs. Sizzle. Dark red vapor flowed from his shoulders. It was a phenomenon that occurred while dissolving the poison. With his profound internal energy, he was somehow expelling the poison, albeit belatedly. However, the problem lay elsewhere. Crack. Ugh. Bek Saha, who had been circulating his energy, grabbed the back of his neck. Elder. Arg. Mok Jaeongun looked at him with a puzzled expression. He had been watching, thinking that as a master of poison arts, Bek Saha would be able to dissolve the poison on his own, but something seemed strange. The eyes of Bek Saha, who was holding the back of his neck, were becoming clouded. Something seemed to have gone wrong. So Mok Jaeongun tried to lay Bek Saha down to check his condition. However, thud. The legs that were crossed in a sitting position wouldn't straighten. No, it wasn't just that they wouldn't straighten, but it seemed that this posture had been fixed for a long time, and the bones and muscles of his lower body had significantly weakened. Mok Jaeongun placed his hand on the acupuncture points there. Is this why he kept sitting? As he touched the acupuncture points, Mok Jaeongun discovered Bek Saha's secret. It seemed that the flow of the acupuncture points in his lower body had become blocked due to the clashing of the reversing poison chi and his internal true energy, causing paralysis. Was he continuously using his true energy to block the reversing poison chi? That seemed to be the reason why he had been sitting all the time. Mok Jaeongun slowly traced Bek Saha's acupuncture points upward. The poison seemed to have finally reached his brain as it reversed along the path where the true energy moved through the main acupuncture points. The cause was probably my blood. In order to dissolve Mok Jaeongun's blood, or rather the new poison, Bek Saha had further dispersed his internal true energy and failed to block the reversing poison chi. What should I do about this? If left alone, Bek Saha would either become a vegetable or die, one of the two. If true energy was injected at this point to help block the reversing poison chi, there might be some hope, but the problem was, will death energy work? His death energy would rather scatter the true energy. Could even have the opposite effect. As he was pondering what to do, Chong Ryong's voice reached his ears. Do you have the moonlight pill? Pardon? The one you called the heavenly earth pill. That? I'm carrying it with me. Since he hadn't cultivated the energy of nourishing life, Mok Jaeongun couldn't see any effect even if he took it, so he was just carrying it in his pocket. Yes. Put the moonlight pill in that old man's mouth and try to block the poison chi that has risen to his brain. The poison chi that has risen to his brain? Mok Jaeongun looked at the back of Bek Saha's neck. Then he removed the hand that was holding the back of his neck and placed his fingers on the acupuncture point connected to the brain. Swish. And then he unleashed the ritual of binding. Through the ritual of binding focused on a single finger, the rising poison chi concentrated into one point and then entered Mok Jaeongun's finger. Cough. At that moment, Bek Saha, who had lost consciousness, regained his senses. Have you regained consciousness? How did you? To him, who was clueless about what was going on, Mok Jaeongun said. Rather than directly helping you, it seems difficult, so try doing something with this. What? Plop. Mok Jaeongun then put the heavenly earth pill into Bek Saha's mouth. This is. Bek Saha, who had the pill in his mouth, instinctively realized that it was a spiritual medicine. In the current situation where the flow of his true energy was disrupted while dissolving Mok Jaeongun's poison, he couldn't block the reversing poison chi. So Bek Saha, who was in no position to be picky, gulp. He swallowed the heavenly earth pill as it was. Indeed, as befitting the spiritual medicine boasted by the Heaven and Earth Society, the moment he swallowed it, he felt a hot energy gradually spreading as it went down his esophagus. Normally, he should have used it to make it his own, but push it out. Bek Saha had to utilize the energy of the spiritual medicine to push out the reversing poison chi again. If he didn't, not only would his lower body become paralyzed, but his entire body would become paralyzed and he might become a vegetable. Sizzle. As Bek Saha was exerting all his strength with the energy of the spiritual medicine, Mok Jaeongun muttered while watching him. It's strange. I don't understand why you're fighting the poison. You could just accept it. At that moment, Bek Saha's eyes trembled strongly. 50 years ago, a young Bek Saha, kneeling, asked a middle-aged man who was lighting incense, How can I ascend to the 8th layer of the wave demon poison scripture? Are you not going to answer me? Father. The middle-aged man was none other than Bek-Sahha's father, Bekyu, who could be called the patriarch of the Bek family and the myriad poisons master. He was the man who overturned the martial world's conventional wisdom that the Four Seasons Tang clan and the Guyong clan couldn't be defeated with poison. With the death of the Tang clan's patriarch Tang Yunzhang, known as the Thousand-Flower Poison Hand, at his hands, the martial world of the Central Plains acknowledged Bekyu as the new supreme master of poison arts. The Wave Demon Poison Scripture was a poison art created by Bekyu, the patriarch of the Bek family, and it became a supreme technique that rivaled the fame of the Tang clan's myriad heavenly flower poison art and the Guyong clan's clam and horse technique. However, the process of mastering this Wave Demon Poison Scripture was not easy, and as one ascended each layer, it became more difficult to gain enlightenment. Apart from Bekyu the creator, none of his sons had reached the 8th layer, known as the Ultimate Realm. The same was true for Bek-Sahha, who was originally the second son but became the eldest. Is the 8th layer of the Wave Demon Poison Scripture impossible for anyone other than you, Father? Bekyu remained silent. The reason he was acting this way was that this place was the ancestral shrine where the spirit tablet of the eldest son was placed. Bek-Songha, the eldest son who was cultivating the 8th layer of the Wave Demon Poison Scripture, had died due to the phenomenon of poison reversing, causing his brain's blood flow to be blocked, resulting in paralysis of his entire body. Please tell me, Father. Will I also lose my life like my elder brother if I try to master the 8th layer like this? After losing his elder brother, the young Bek-Sahha began to have doubts about cultivating the Wave Demon Poison Scripture. The eldest son had lost his life, and the third younger brother had become paralyzed from the waist down. The only one who was still intact was himself, but no matter how much he thought about it, this Wave Demon Poison Scripture seemed to be a martial art that no one could master except for his father, the creator. The Wave Demon Poison Scripture is the path to becoming a poison master. That again. The ultimate realm of poison arts is to become poison oneself. How? From the moment one cultivates poison arts, one has to live in constant tension, unable to sleep properly. How can a person become poison? Just adapt to it. What exactly is this adaptation? You can't understand it now, and I know you have many grievances against this father. But it's something you have to realize on your own. Adaptation. Adaptation. That damn adaptation. Such vague advice even to his son. Because of that, one son died and another son became crippled. Is this how it is? From that day on, Bek-Sahha made a resolution. Rather than recklessly following his father's shadow, he decided to forge his own path. 33 years later. Ha. Bek-Sahha, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, was exhaling rough breaths. It was the first time in nearly a decade that he had been injured in a one-on-one match against someone, and he couldn't hide his shock. He had never faced the society leader, known as the Supreme Master of the Heaven and Earth Society, in the first place. However, he had once directly sparred in a friendly match with Ho Tae-gang, one of the 5 kings who held the title of 8 stars and had surpassed the wall. Even then, although he felt a certain gap, he had never experienced such a sense of powerlessness. How can this be possible? Even Ho Tae-gang, who had surpassed the wall, couldn't directly withstand his poison chi. That's how much he knew the danger of the power called poison. However, that person had directly clashed with him and deflected all the indiscriminately unleashed fog of poison. The poison that didn't touch him had no effect on him. The high-level technique of transferring flowers and grafting trees, capable of lightly deflecting even poison chi. It was something that could only be possible by handling true energy as if breathing. Ghost Blade. That bastard was truly a monster. He felt a sense of self-loathing. However, through this confrontation, Bek-Sahha realized his shortcomings. If he couldn't handle true energy as delicately as that person, he could no longer advance upward. So he honed himself once again. If he could handle true energy delicately and move it freely as if breathing, he might be able to succeed in the 8th layer of the Wave Demon Poison Scripture that he had given up on. However, his judgment was half right and half wrong. Bek-Sahha, who was confident that he could handle true energy as delicately as breathing, challenged the 8th layer of the Wave Demon Poison Scripture. The 8th layer realm that only his patriarch and father Bekyu had succeeded in. This time he was confident that he would succeed. However, Arg. Beksaha failed to ascend to the 8th layer. Since he could handle true energy delicately, he tried to achieve harmony with the poison chi. However, due to the phenomenon of the poison chi reversing, his lower body became paralyzed instead. He had become the same as his third younger brother. Is the ultimate realm of the wave demon poison scripture truly impossible? Perhaps the realm of a poison master was an impossible domain for anyone other than his father, the supreme master. With his lower body paralyzed, Beksaha went into seclusion under the pretext of a 3-year mourning period. His goal was not to achieve the 8th layer of the wave demon poison scripture. He simply hoped to suppress the reversing poison chi and restore his paralyzed lower body to its original state. However, even now he was still at square one. Do I have to live like this, half-crippled? He was gradually becoming exhausted. However, it's strange. I don't understand why you're fighting the poison. You could just accept it. The moment he heard those words from Mok Jiangan, he suddenly recalled what his father, Baekyu, had said. Just adapt to it. Adapt. It was at that very instant when he recalled those words. Beksaha released the poison chi that had been reversing and the true energy that had been blocking it. And he discarded all the thoughts of separating them. Then, rumble. Beksaha's true energy and poison chi, which had been unable to mix like water and oil, began to harmonize with each other. And then, crack, crackle. Cracks appeared on Beksaha's skin. That phenomenon was none other than, that old man is lucky to undergo a transformation. It was just as Chong Ryong had said. Transformation. His body was mutating anew to match his enlightenment. Into a body befitting the 8th layer of the wave demon poison scripture that he had longed for. It didn't take very long. Beksaha's body was already sufficiently prepared. He had just been forcibly suppressing it,